Well, I'm sure many of the subscribers to my channel will be familiar with my little Sherline 5000 milling machine, which doesn't get used as much as the Walker W180 lathe, but it does get used quite a lot. And just recently I have used it for all sorts of different things, and it was essential in making the new buttstock for my Daisy Red Ryder air rifle. However, the eagle-eyed amongst you might notice some changes. Yes, all of this here is new. New motor, new speed controller, new motor mounting bracket, and you can't quite see it because it's behind the speed controller. There is a new pulley as well. Basically what happened, the original motor was failing and has been failing for some time. What would happen would be that you turn it on and it would run fine for about 2 or 3 minutes. Then it would start to get very hot, slow down and lose power. And it got to the point where it was basically just unusable. So we now have a new motor. It's quite difficult to track down a replacement. The original motor was a 200 watt 90 volt brushed DC motor. This is same specs, except it's still 200 watt, but it's a 180 volt motor. But fortunately the person who supplied this motor, the eBay seller, they also provide a speed controller for it, and it all works fine. I haven't done any serious work with it yet, but we'll just turn it on and you can. Compared to my old motor, it's dead silent and it's much more constant speed wise. Maximum I can get out of it with the pulley that I've currently got on there is about 2,100 RPM, but that's okay for now. I'm going to make another pulley, one that will allow me to increase the speed up to about 3,000 RPM. I think the maximum speed from the old motor was only 2,700 anyway. So that's taken me out a week to get this all back up and running again. So the purpose of this video is I thought it would be quite interesting. I'm going to strip down the old motor and we'll have a look at it and see what's wrong with it. Well, here we have it, the original motor. One of the first things that I noticed was that one of these studs is bent on the that holds the mounting pillars. I hadn't noticed that before, but I guess it must have always been like that. But like I said, I did notice it when it was in place. Yeah, and before anybody does ask, yes, I did check the brushes first before I even dismantled it, and the brushes are absolutely fine. However, we'll take these off. Once I got this thing off of the actual mill, I did notice some serious play in the shaft. There's this moves backwards and forwards. That's probably 3 mil maybe, and it's also rocking. There's a lot of play side to side, way more than there should be. So probably at least one of the contributing factors to this will be the bearings are shot. Okay, let's take the brushes out. It's quite easy to access them on this one, which they're not, unfortunately, on the new one. They're internal. But little cap there. And yeah, there you go. Not an awful lot wrong with that. They are worn, obviously, but there's still plenty of brush material left. Let's turn it around and take the other one out. Yeah, even amount of wear on the brushes, pretty good, so that's okay. So then the next stage is to remove the studs, and hopefully this will split apart. Well, that was interesting. The nuts weren't actually that tight, weren't actually in fact tight at all. Now I don't know whether exactly this. Ah, there we go. Right. Oh, I see. Yeah, great. Yeah, we're going to have to take this grommet off somehow. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get this off. Right, I'll work on that. Well, after a bit of a fight, I got the grommet out. So hopefully we can now push that through and pull this off with a bit of luck. There we go. Alright, well, yeah. Commutator looks pretty shitty. Let's see if we can close in on that for you. Quite messy, so we clean that up. Need to check the bearings out. It looks like it's an oil light bearing in this end. I don't know how well you can see that. Doesn't appear to be any significant sort of burning anywhere, but obviously we need to strip the whole thing down further and investigate. Well, here it is all disassembled. The commutator's not too bad. It really does need a good clean up. I'll probably spin this up in the lathe and get some wire brush on, get a wire wool on that, clean that up. But the windings, you know, there's no burning on the windings that I can see, so that's okay. The stator part seems to be fine. This oil light bearing in this end of the housing also appears to be fine. There is a small amount of play in it, but the oil light bearings are floating anyway. But yeah, there's very, very minimal play that end. However, this end is a whole different story. Let's stick that in there. Right. So this end is all over the place. That is horrendously loose. So I think that's what basically was causing the problem. I might investigate. These oil light bearings are held in with, as you can see, these round spring type washers here. I might see if I can take one out and see whether there's any markings on it, because you know, apart from that, there doesn't appear to be anything generally wrong with the motor. And if I can replace the bearing, then this is probably, you know, still a good motor. So that's the next stage. Okay, I've had a chance to examine this closely, and I don't know whether you can see that. This is a close-up of the front bearing, but it's actually worn oval. And that is obviously what is causing the problems. I would assume that at some point in its life, someone had run it with the belt really, really tight to do that kind of wear. I can't see any other reason for that to happen. But yes, that is definitely worn oval. Okay, I've moved the bearing over to one side so that, again, I hope you can see this. These are actually spherical oil light bearings. Which is a pain, because I've done a fairly intensive search online and I can't find anyone who can supply these. It's a 5/16 ID, that's measuring the good end of the armature. 5/16 ID, spherical oil light bearing. So it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to resurrect this, unfortunately. I also think that the reason that it was getting hot is that the armature, this part of the armature here, was actually rubbing against the stator. These score marks line up with the lines in the fixed part in the stator here. So I think that's probably why there was so much float in the bearing that it was actually rubbing, the armature's rubbing against the stator, which is probably what was causing the heat. So yeah, not good. So it does unfortunately look like I'm not going to be able to resurrect this motor at the moment. I would have liked to have had it as a spare, and I'm certainly going to keep it, and I should certainly keep my eye open for anyone on eBay selling, you know, spherical oil light bearings. I think that hopefully replacing that bearing would fix the motor. There is some wear on the armature here, but obviously this is hardened steel. This is not going to wear anything like the way the bearing is worn. So I think a new bearing at that end would probably fix it. But, anyway, there you go. I just thought you guys would like to follow me on my little investigative route here to find out what was wrong with the original motor. I'm not too upset about this because I've had the mill for at least 3 years. It was second hand when I bought it. God knows how old the thing is. So, you know, this kind of maintenance does occur from time to time. And I was lucky enough to get the replacement motor. I think the motor and speed controller together were about £65 from eBay, and it's brand new. And it should hopefully outlast me anyway. Anyway, there you go. As always, thanks for watching. Cheers.